Hey, Steve Gamache here for Chef Knives to Go with another quick look product review. And what we have this time is the DaoVua Classic V2 Gyuto 210mm knife. So the way these are made, you can kind of read on it on the product page, but it's kind of a unique story behind them. But these are one hunk of steel. They're mono steel construction, no layers. It is a reactive carbon steel. And heat treat's not really specified, but I suspect it's probably around 60. This line of knives has a little bit better heat treat than the other ones, so they tend to have pretty decent edge retention, especially compared to the other lines, but they're still easy to sharpen, so they've definitely kind of improved their heat treat on these, and they're a little harder and a little more consistent. The weight and dimensions and the other thickness and so on are going to vary from knife to knife, but this particular one is 159 grams or 5.6 ounces. Edge length right about 210 on the money, about 8¼ inches from the tip to the back of the heel. Overall length about 360 millimeters or about 14 inches. And then the spine thickness. These have a little bit of flex to them, not much, a little more towards the front half, but fairly stiff. Spine thickness, I got about 2.2. They're not real thick knives at the spine, about 2.2 millimeters at the back. And I measured about a little under 2 millimeters halfway down. And they don't have a lot of distal taper or anything. They just kind of keep that 2-ish, maybe slightly under, until you hit where they grind them. The grinds are not super high at the tip, but the tips aren't super skinny on these. They tend to have a little bit of thickness right behind the edge on these knives. I've mentioned this on the other videos, but hopefully over time Mark can get them rolling on thinning out the grind on these towards the edge. That would up the performance. Because they cut nicely, they're just a little bit thick behind the edge, especially towards the tip. So the tip does not tend to fly through stuff, but that's just a characteristic of the knife. Let's see, blade height about 48.5 millimeters at the back. Handles are just wood. We don't really specify what they are, but the handles are quite nice. The fit and finish on them is really good. Octagonal, a little more height versus width, a little taller, a little skinnier. They are doing a nice glue up job or seal job where the tangles into the handle. So nice job on these handles. Let's see, the balance point is gonna be a little farther back than I thought it would be, but there's your balance point on this one. So it's gonna be a little behind your pinch grip. So there's your pinch grip. So a little bit handle heavy bias on this. I think we need a beauty shot. Let's do that. So here's the left side of the blade. These are all a bit of a rustic characteristic to them. So they've got some screened on logo on the right side of the blade as you'd be holding it here. They're all going to be a little unique, but you've got this kind of Kuta-uchi or natural blacksmith finish on it. And then you can see that kind of some texture to it that starts to get into the grind where it's ground down towards the edge. Here's the left side of the blade. These are pretty straight. Grinds look pretty decent. You can kind of see the hammering as you go along, especially on this part. What else here? Out of the box edge, I'm going to give it maybe a 5 out of 10. It's not particularly sharp. Most of these aren't. They'll take a nice edge though, so you should sharpen them when you get them out of the box. Give them a good sharpening, clean them up, and then they'll perform optimally, especially if you got something that's a little thicker behind the edge. You need that cutting ability to maximize the performance. Here is the edge profile. This will vary from knife to knife, but this has a pretty nice flat spot towards the back. It does roll into the heel right here, but pretty nice flat spot towards the back. A little bit of a belly towards the tip. I'm getting in there for the tip once I start digging in. So you can definitely rock with this pretty nicely. A little bit of chopping area towards the back, push-pull cuts, glide cuts, kind of cutting. So pretty versatile profile. These are a really good knife if you want to learn how to sharpen. The steel is quite adequate. In fact, like I said, the edge retention is pretty good on this line, this V2 line. And they're not expensive, so you can afford to kind of, if you're learning sharpening, you can afford to work on it without being scared you're going to mess something up. And really, there's not too many things you can mess up, honestly, with sharpening, unless you go really off the rails. But you can always kind of, as you learn, kind of start correcting things and get that knife back where you want it. So, but it's a great line to learn on. All reactive steel, so there's no stainless or anything. So you got to use it, clean it, wipe it down so it's completely dry, and then put it away. This is the DaoVua Classic V2 Gyuto 210mm knife from Chef Knives To Go.